Hey there everyone, welcome back to another exciting video. I'm glad you're with me. Today I wanted to do a video on some Xbox 360 titles that I feel like if you're a collector, you should probably pick up when you see them. I know we all probably come across Xbox 360 games often, and a lot of them are just kind of generic or whatever, and I get that, but I wanted to go over some of the games that I feel are moving up in price. And yes, I know there's going to be some people that say two things to me in the comments. One, just get an emulator. No, I don't want to emulate anything. I like to own my stuff. I like to buy my stuff. Two, people are going to say, well, thanks to your video, now everything is going to go up in price, which is really kind of a silly thing to say. I have 7,000 subscribers. Nobody's going to raise the prices based on something that I'm saying. So, with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy this video. Please pick up these games anytime you see them. Should be a fun one. Let's go ahead and get started. So the original Jurassic Park is still one of my all-time favorite movies. It's such a great thrill ride from start to finish. Telltale Games did a Jurassic Park game. You guys know them. They did stuff like The Walking Dead, The Wolf Among Us. They've done a lot of games like that in the past, and this is sort of like that in that sort of QTE point and click type of adventure. And yeah, this game is already kind of expensive, but I've noticed that it's going up even more when I've come across it. Luckily I already own a copy, but if you guys don't own a copy and you come across it in the wild, I highly suggest picking it up. It's got its own kind of story that intertwines a bit with like the movies and things like that. It's got some really cool choices that you can make throughout the game that will help your story kind of unfold before your eyes. And you know what? It's just something new to kind of understand and enjoy in that world of Jurassic Park that's more interactive than, say, the movies or, you know, whatever. So, yeah, Telltale Games did a really good job with this. Of course, this game was a little bit before the time of, you know, when they really hit their stride, in my opinion. But it's still a fun game to go ahead and play, and it's one that I see going up in price all the time. So, if you come across it, definitely pick it up. So next up is an interesting compilation called The Orange Box, and this is one that I've noticed that goes up in price here and there, and I'm just going to go ahead and say, hey, if you come across it, go ahead and pick it up. What's interesting about it is it has multiple games on it, including Half-Life 2, Episode 2, Team Fortress 2, Portal. So, you know, it's got some pretty good games on there, some games that a lot of people kind of really love and kind of just enjoy. You know, you always hear people talk good about Half-Life 2 and think it's maybe one of the better games ever created. Now, I personally wouldn't go that far, but I would say, you know, this is a good compilation box, and whenever I've come across Half-Life 2 and you know, the Orange Box, it's always in a situation where you know, the game has gone up in price a little bit. So I've noticed it. You know, sometimes you can pick it up for $25, sometimes $30. I did see it a couple years ago for like 15 or 20, and then since that point I've seen it do nothing but raise up in price. So yeah, if you're looking for something with a lot of content and a lot of good content, the Orange Box is going to be definitely something that you're going to want to pick up on your Xbox 360. Next up is a really fun game called Alice Madness Returns, and this is one that I always kind of point out because if you do happen to come across this game physically, it's probably already going to be kind of expensive. The good news is that this game is backwards compatible, so you kind of have that going for you if you do find it. So if you have a newer Xbox, you're going to be able to play it. So imagine, you know, Alice in Wonderland, but a kind of more twisted, dark, third-person shooter Alice in Wonderland, and that's what you have here. So, you know, it's just one of those games that is kind of fun to play, and it's different, and, you know, a lot of people probably maybe don't even know about it. You know, I would actually consider this to be a bit of a hidden gem if I were to kind of put it in some kind of category. But yeah, really fun game. It's really one of those games that went under the radar a bit, but I had a blast with it. I think it's just absolutely phenomenal game, and I think that it's one of the games that if you ever do come across it, I highly recommend just picking it up. Whatever you do, just put down what you're doing, pick it up, and buy it, because this game has steadily gone up in price every time I've come across it. So yeah, definitely give it a try. I guarantee you'll probably enjoy it quite a bit, and with it being backwards compatible, it gives a little bit new life to it as well. Next up is a fun, arcadey, over-the-top, action-packed game called Wet, and this was actually published by Bethesda back in the day. It never got a sequel or anything like that. I've put this game in another one of my Xbox 360 videos, and the reason why is because it's a game that I actually just found out about and just kind of got into more recently, and it's already kind of gone up in price since that particular point. So, it's just one of those games that I like pointing out, saying, hey, you know what? Get this game. If you come across it, play it. Let me know what you think, because I absolutely think it's so much fun and over the top and crazy and zany, and almost like, what it sort of reminds me a little bit of, like maybe a Sega Dreamcast game, maybe something that was ported from the arcade, something along those lines. And it's just really got this kind of over the top, amazing kind of atmosphere to it, and it's got some pretty insane voice acting. Eliza Dushku does the main character and things like that. So there is that to kind of look into and say, okay, yeah, that's something that I'm really interested in. And I guarantee if you're the type of person that's into like over the top actiony arcadey stuff, you're going to want to give this game a try. It's always going up in price. If you can pick it up for 30-40 bucks, do it. Mario Kart meets Forza, and what do you get? Well, you get Blur. And this is a game that's really kind of unlike any other racing game that I've seen, in that it's more of a realistic looking game, but it is an arcade type racing game, almost like a Mario Kart, where you can pick up different collectibles and just kind of have fun with it like that. So I found like the learning curve on this game was actually pretty simple. It took me a couple races to get it down or whatever, get down the controls. Each racing game, if you know anything about racing games, has their own type of control scheme, and it takes a little bit of time to kind of get them all down. I've always felt like the Forza Motorsport / Horizon series had some of the better mechanics and turning and things like that. But Blur isn't bad in that respect, and it's a lot of fun. It's just you pick up the collectibles and you pick up the weapons and you take out the enemies and you try to win the race. I mean, what could be better than that? There's like a cool campaign mode to go through, and it's easy on the eyes. So you have that to kind of look into as well. Just an incredibly fun racing game, something unique, and you can find this game usually between $20 and $35. So it's gone up a little bit over the last couple of years, so if you do come across it, it's one that I always highly recommend that you pick up. I'm sure this one might be a little bit of a weird one for some people, but Peter Jackson's King Kong, the official game of the movie. Now, what's interesting is this game came out for pretty much everything, and it came out, I believe, as a launch title on the Xbox 360. It's got easy gamer score. I think you pretty much get all of it as you beat the game. And they were still trying to figure out that whole system or whatever. But what's interesting is it's a very serviceable kind of first-person game, and it's still fun to play even today. I understand that this game is actually going on 20 years old, and it still plays pretty interestingly and has a lot of kind of charm to it, which I think is pretty unique for a game that's 20 years old. But again, I've seen this game go up in price significantly, and so when you think about that, you have to kind of understand that it's a good time to pick up something like this. Sometimes, like, I look at the games that I buy as sort of an investment. Yeah, I'll buy almost any game, but in particular, if I'm going to spend, like, say, over $20 on an Xbox 360 game, usually I have to understand that there's a trend involved and that the game continues to rise or whatever. So it's sort of like collecting football cards or baseball cards as a kid. But yeah, this is a fun one. If you see it, pick it up. It's going up in price steadily. So next up is WWE All-Stars. This is a game that I really enjoyed, and I think one of the reasons why I enjoy it is because it's such an arcade type of game. You can still play through it and have a ton of fun with it. The characters are exaggerated. They can do like really exaggerated moves and things like that, including like building up to like the end moves and things. And listen, it's awesome, and this is a game that I've noticed kind of creep up in price a little bit here and there. I think people really are nostalgic for that old school type of arcade wrestling game. You know, growing up, I used to always go to the movie theater, and the movie theater had that like WWE Royal Rumble arcade game, and it had like, you know, Hulk Hogan and, you know, the Legion of Doom and Mr. Perfect and Big Boss Man and Ultimate Warrior, and I used to just play that game all the time. I loved it, and this is really over the top in that sort of vein of that game. So yeah, if you like WWE, if you like wrestling, if you like over the top arcade action, then go ahead and, you know, give this game a try. You can get it for under $20 still, but it is a game that I've noticed is going up in price here and there, so you might want to hurry. Obviously, I was going to put the Simpsons game on this list. I love the Simpsons, and of course, the Simpsons video game, I think, was a very underrated game. What was interesting is I believe this game had a different cover for every platform that it was on, which is something that's extremely cool. And it's a game that is already quite expensive on the Xbox 360, I believe. But at the same time, I still think that it's a game that's definitely worthwhile of your money, of your time. And, you know, if you're a fan of The Simpsons like I am, what's cool is, you know, it's got all the voice actors, the writers, and, you know, it's got some really funny little quips and story to it. And it's just a lot of fun for me, you know, to kind of sit through and as a Simpsons fan, really go back and then kind of enjoy the storytelling and things like that. So if you're like me, if you enjoy The Simpsons, if you like that kind of humor or whatever, yeah, I would 100% recommend this game. And I know for a fact that it's gone up in price significantly. So if you can pick one up, you know, pick it up. You know, it doesn't really actually matter the platform that you pick this game up for. I believe it's it's getting pretty pricey across the board. So a lot of fun, a lot of cool jokes, a lot of in references and things like that. So if you do know a lot about The Simpsons, it's going to make you smile.
So I tied an onion to my belt, which was the style at the time.
Next up is a fantastic Transformers game, Transformers Fall of Cybertron. And this one and the other Cybertron game War for Cybertron are very, very good games. They are such a good time. Voiced by Peter Cullen for Optimus Prime once again. So the original 1980s voice actor coming back to do the voice is really cool. And what I think is really well done about this is that they really paid attention to the lore, and they really paid attention to sort of what people wanted from these games, right? Because so often we get stuff that isn't what we wanted. I mean, it's quite simple what we wanted. We wanted kind of a gritty story with, you know, the characters that we know and love. And we kind of get that here, which I think is really just fantastic, the way that they've handled that. And for me, this game has gone up for price quite a number of times. So if you do come across either War for Cybertron or Fall of Cybertron, I highly suggest picking them up. Even if you're not a huge Transformers fan, maybe you like the style of Gears of War gameplay or whatever, and you want robots to transform, then go ahead and pick this up, because it's a lot of fun, and it's one that will probably continue to go up in price as well. Last up on this list, but certainly not least, is Spider-Man Edge of Time. Now, I hope to do more of these videos in the future, but this one is a game that I've really enjoyed a lot lately. I've only picked this game up more recently, and I had a blast with it, I have to be honest. It's just such a fun thing being able to play Spider-Man games on an Xbox, which, you know, I wish this was backwards compatible, you know, because sometimes the screen tearing or there'll be some slowdown or whatever. Kind of understandable given everything that's going on, but this game has a really, really great story to it, and it's just a game that I found myself completely immersed into. So if you are a fan of Spider-Man and you come across this game, yeah, this game is probably gonna cost you $40 to $50, but I have seen it in some places cost as much as $70. So it's definitely one of those games where you're going to want to be on the lookout for it, maybe try to catch a deal for it. That's what I did when I got my copy. You know what I mean? I absolutely hate paying current game prices for, you know, games that came out on, you know, retro systems, but this game is well worth it. A lot of fun to play through and a lot of fun to collect. So yeah, absolutely give it a try. So there's a fun little list of some Xbox 360 games that I've seen kind of going up in price over the last couple of, I'll say, few months or so. And, you know, it's always a good bet to kind of pick up some of the more obscure games if you ever come across them, because you never know what you're going to find. I mean, sometimes it's the absolute most obscure, weird game that is going to end up being worth the most money. Like, who would have thought that Futurama on Xbox 360, or excuse me, on the original Xbox and PS2 would be such a sought after game, but here we are, you know. It's the same way with a lot of these other games. So what games have you guys noticed going up in price? Let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you next time. Until then, have a great time gaming.